Welcome to Positive Waves. My name is Matthew Collinson, and this is my great friend,
Joseph Soma. And with us today, we brought in Miss Mary-Frances Buckland. Hi, Mary-Frances. How are you today?
I'm doing just fine, Joe. Thank you so much for having me, Matthew. Nice to see you in person as well.
Yeah, it's been a while actually since I've seen you. So I'm glad that you're here and thank you for coming on the show. And I look forward to this conversation that you guys had rolling in comments. So I hear. So I'll let you guys kind of introduce the topic and all that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the other day I posted a bid emoji where it was just the I am worthy, and I threw it out there for Facebook land to see and enjoy. And Miss Mary Frances and I got to talking about how the wording with affirmations is so very important. And I thought it would be a great topic to get together, the three of us, and just sit down and chat about affirmations and the way we use them and where we are in our mindset at any given point in life that could help or hurt us with the words we use creating these affirmations.
Definitely, definitely. And the I am statements, if you're in a victim mentality, you put out there the negative. And when you're in the healing or the victor mentality, your I am statement, even though it may be the same words, are definitely different. And that's how our conversation got started.
Yes, do you want to share a little bit more of what you were telling me?
So you had put out there, I am worthy. And the positive person looks at that and says, yes, I am worthy of all of the good in the day because they're full of blessings. When you are in your dark period, recovering from broken relationships, um, finally dealing with events of your past, the I am worthy has a different meaning. So, I was raped when I was 11. And then later in life, my husband even raped me. And, it doesn't matter if you have a piece of paper and a gold ring. When you say no, no means no. And I didn't really realize that I hadn't processed any of those events from my past. And it was weighing heavy on my heart. So this time last year, when I read I am worthy, it had a different meaning. I mean, I'm worthy of being raped. I'm being worthy of not having positive relationships. I'm worthy of being stuck in this rut. I'm worthy of being treated like shit. And, that when you are in the victim mentality, that just drags you down even more.
Yep.
So, and that's how our conversation started. It wasn't that, excuse me, at this time I'm seeing it negatively. It's just pointing out that, not all of the time do people see what we see.
Right. And with me, what hit my heart when discussing this with you is I know I've not had that situations that you have, but in my own personal experience, I struggled with going from I am enough to I am more than enough. And I literally fought with the person that told me, start using this, you'll love it. And I wasn't feeling it. And as I
Mhm.
sat there and thought about what you were sharing with me, it's like, totally. When we are in that dark space, it's not only in our outside world, but it's in our head. So when someone says, oh, just remind yourself you're worthy, well, what are you adding to that? Because in that self-sabotaging mindset, you are completely beating yourself up with whatever you're adding behind that. So you may be trying to tell yourself, I am worthy, but what are you adding behind that? I am worthy of abuse. I am worthy of neglect. I am worthy of hate. And we don't want to be worthy of those low-lying vibrations. We want to bring that positive out, that love for self. And sometimes that's
Mhm.
difficult for us to do when we're still in that mindset. So I'm wondering, what type of things would you say to another person going through that victimhood to help them break that low-lying vibration of I am not worthy, because essentially that's what I'm hearing when you add those self-sabotaging words to the end.
Right. And, I struggled just here recently with, I am enough. I am enough what? I'm good enough to get up and get out of bed and go back to bed in the morning or at night. So, it's not just I am worthy, it's I am enough what? I am enough love and light and, peace now and can help people. But your your question about, how do you change from the victor to the victim, or to you just ask open-ended questions. When I say to you, you are worthy and I don't see you light, I can ask you, you know, what do you feel when you hear these words? And when you hear the victim come out, you can discuss through it. But as being a coach, those are the things that we look for. Where, if you're in the grocery store and you run into somebody that you work with and oh, you're worthy, and they just kind of look at you like, sure. You may not be able to have that conversation very easily, especially in a grocery store. But excuse me, just being really open-minded to the fact that not everybody is at the front of the line like we are. Not everybody is in their journey to the point that we are. And, we are here as beacons to help guide and to help teach and to help save. On the other hand, we can be in the same line and look to the front of the line and see somebody further along than we are. And we just need to have the grace and compassion to realize that person was in the middle of the line like we are.
Mhm.
They were also at the end of the line where other people are.
That kind of reminds me of a chat I had with my son just the other day, because he's diagnosed autistic and he does not get along with anybody in his age group. Older
Mm,
people, great. Younger people, great. And the conversation we got into was about role models, because he was upset about having to be the shadow mentor for the younger generation. I looked at him, I'm like, kiddo, you know what you were for those kids? And he had no clue. And I was like, you were a role model. And just imagine what those older kids were for you, you were being for those younger kids. So did you show up and be your best, or were you being crabby because you just didn't feel like doing it that day? I mean, it was a great conversation, but it's kind of the same as what you're saying. When you look down that line, you may see people that are more advanced in their path than you are in your own. And there's nothing wrong with that. That person is our role model that we look up to. But while we're looking up to that role model, we sometimes forget the people behind us looking up to us, watching what we're doing and how we're growing, because what we're doing is so meaningful for them and their growth in their moment in time. I love how that came together there.
yeah, and then too, you always have to look at it as, you never. It's okay to give a handout. I'm not saying, we are, you're on the side of the road and this guy's out there, he's asking for money. I never give money. I always give like peanut butter crackers and water, because I'm not giving a handout. I'm actually giving a hand up. I'm giving them energy.
Right.
And, we should always be that way. Somebody always needs a hand up. And again, the person at the end of the line can look at us and say, I wish I was that person. I wish I could be that confident. And, you know, I can remember being at the end of the line saying, I don't even want to be here, let alone I wish I could be that person. And, I'm writing my book now about my healing journey. And in doing this, yes, it is bringing up an awful lot of emotions that I am processing. You know, I'm You look at me and, people will say, oh, yeah, look at her. She's at the front of the line. She used to be working in this call center with us, hating her job like we do. But what they don't realize is I am still struggling, but I'm struggling because I want to deal with my emotions and deal with my past, make peace with it so I can move on and be a better, stronger person for myself.
Right. And that's where a lot of strength comes in, is when you
Hmm.
look to your past and say, yeah, that sucks, but instead of shoving it back into that emotional jar, you pull it out there, dust it off, and say, let's get rid of this motherfucker. Let's bring healing to this space, to this place. Let's find that forgiveness needed to move
Hmm.
on, to live that better life, because damn it, I want to smile every day, not live in these negative emotions that tear me down on the inside.
Right. And, smile every day. That's another one. I there's a TV commercial where this woman pulls a little paper plate smile out of her pocket and puts it on. It is so easy to hide behind that fake paper plate smile because I'm sitting here and smiling to you right now. And for all you know, I could be sitting on a tack and, it really hurt and I want to jump up and take care of it, but it's not appropriate right now. So I hide behind my little smile. Robin Williams is a perfect example of the public saw him as such a positive person.
Hmm.
And inside he was, battling huge fires, every minute. And, and it saddens you that you are like, well, gee, I never noticed that. And, obviously it's not someone that we could have just reached out to and, said, hey, how's it going? But, you need to learn to look for those people within your everyday lives,
Right.
your everyday connections.
And I was one of those people. I was always looking to make someone smile, to crack the joke, to just bring happiness, because I didn't have it in my own world. And like Robin, I had many suicide attempts myself, and thank the Lord I didn't succeed, but some of us do. And it's always after the fact we find out, oh, they were
Mhm.
so happy-go-lucky, bringing a smile to everyone's face, but no one could bring a smile to theirs because of their internal battles that most of us don't really ever speak about, because most people really don't seem to care. I mean, granted, that's shifted over the last, few months to a year or so, where people are starting to open up, or at least in my proximity, I'm seeing it more. I don't know about y'all, but it's something that a lot of us suffer with, and we don't speak about, because why bring us someone down talking about our own problems when we can crack a joke and make everybody smile, and we can have that few moments of joy, and in between that million thoughts a millisecond of how horrible what's going on in our world truly is.
That's what you're
Right.
cycling on. Yeah, at that point, it's what you choose to cycle on, but you don't know you have that choice when you're in the midst of the darkness at all. Like you really don't. It takes, it's that first giant step that people take, I think, that brings on that shift from that negativity to you bring in your first positive thought that you've had in God knows how long. And once you've had that positive thought, then you can add another positive thought. It's just like then it's a one step at a time kind of process. And it takes time, especially depending on how many years we all chose not to be vulnerable with our problems that we had. Um, as a child, I was abused a little myself, so I understand parts of that. And it's just one of those things that you come to terms with eventually, and just either accept that is the isness of what happened. I'm a big Eckhart Tolle fan in this part of it, which is the isness of things. The isness is it happened. Things happened. What do you do with that isness now? Do you choose to bring light to the isness or darkness to the isness?
Right. Like
Right.
Roman talked before, we sat in that addictive state, shining more darkness into our personal hell, and here we are sitting here today talking about how to revert and flip that to a more positive light. how we can use affirmations and the wording in a positive manner, even though we may not always feel it's fitting.
Yeah. Excuse me. So, speaking of addiction, if I were to walk into the liquor store every day and buy a bottle of alcohol, or I were to go to the same street corner and see the same guy and, buy some drugs there, people can see that the pattern and that I have an addiction. But I can go to the grocery store and go down the cookie aisle and nobody really looks at it as an addiction. So my public, because it's legal to buy cookies and crap in the grocery store, or to go talk to the clown's face and order some really crappy food, those addictions are not seen in society as an addiction, but they are. So in the same way with food, I am feeding my process of, I look like shit, I don't deserve any better, I'm just going to go and, order all of this food and come home and eat it. And then you feel worse because you go, shit, I just ate all of that food and there's no ice cream left in the refrigerator, in the freezer. So now what do I do? And, it's the same thing as if, I'm sitting there and lighting up a crack pipe. And, so, I battle with that as well. And I was speaking publicly about this in a group, and someone IM'd me afterwards and said, looking at me today, you would never know that I battled with anorexia and bulimia because I didn't like my body the way it was. I've made peace with my body, and because I know now that I've done the best that I could do with the knowledge I had at the time, what you see is me in the middle of the line. You didn't see me at the end of the line weighing 425 pounds because I was so emotionally abused in my marriage, and I was alienated, affectionately alienated. And that gives you such a bad perception of yourself. Again, I'm worthy of being ignored. And the only way that I was getting attention is if I cooked food for him. So I ate it with him, trying to build a relationship. And the only relationship I was building was by gaining weight. And for years, I used my weight as like an invisibility cloak or as a shield, my body armor. And again, when I started with my transformation coaching is when I realized all of these beliefs that I had in myself, that I realized it wasn't me, it was the rest of the world saying, go to this restaurant because their steak's the best. You may not like their steak, but everybody was saying it's the best, so you go. And the hardest thing, and I have a cute little story, but it's, sometimes using all of your superpowers means you need to ask for help. And it doesn't mean you're any weaker of a person. If anything, it means you're a stronger person for asking for that help and seeking out and finding out you are enough and you are worthy of good and love and light and peace. And, your birthrights, reclaim your birthrights, because who has ever taken away your right to love and be loved? You were born with that right. And we actually take it away from ourselves. We take it away from ourselves and we cheat ourselves.
What is a powerful, since we're talking about statements, what is a powerful I am statement that you use when you find yourself in the midst of that to remind yourself that, hey, I want to stay strong today?
I'm a survivor. All of this shit that has happened to me has not happened to me. It has happened for me. And that was very, very hard to grasp. It's like, excuse me, you watch these movies where people are dying and the priest walks in and says, you know, you need to look to God right now. And the people say, why the hell am I going to look towards God? He's not a good God. If he's letting this person die, how can he do that? How can this happen to me? Everybody's brought into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And once you realize that, it doesn't make the pain any less, but it gives value to what's happening. And you know, the other thing is, you know, when you're looking at yourself, you know, again, just people say, if God is such a great and loving God, why is he putting me through this? He's putting me through this for the exact reason of what's happening here right now. Because somebody watching this has had something bad happen to them in their past that they have not processed properly. They don't realize in the back of their head that it keeps coming forward. So it's kind of like, to break it down, you have a backpack on your back. And in that backpack, you carry around a great big book because the book has always meant so much to you. You're not taking that book out every day and reading it. It's just there. And you carry that weight from day to day. You need to stop every once in a while. And women do this all the time. You have to stop and clean out all of the receipts out of your purse. Guys, you probably do it too. They're in your wallet. You got to clean all that crap out so the wallet fits back in your pocket. You know, we need to make the backpack lighter. We put so many emotions that we carry that no longer suit us, that we just need to realize that, you know, get them off, get them out, and process them. And you know, at first I struggled with, you know, telling people I'm a health, life, and transformational coach, and I go to therapy.
Some of our best mentors have mentors themselves. And that's how you know you were working with a skilled person, when they're brave enough to say, I also need help in my world, but because I found help and I'm learning how to use it, let me help you in your journey as well.
Exactly, exactly. And you know, it's when you can be authentic with yourself and admit that you have imperfections.
That's a challenge too. A lot of
Yes.
us like to think we're perfect. But one thing I would like to bring up, since we were talking about these emotions, seeing them, feeling them, knowing they're there, knowing they're in that backpack weighing us down. If you read the Sedona method, you will learn how to accept, feel them, and release them. Not only the bad shit, but the good stuff as well. You don't want to hold on to any emotion too long, because there's always something more coming in. Not saying it's going to be the greatest, but it's either going to be a lesson or a blessing, one or the other. And
Exactly.
you choose how you're going to handle that.
Yes. And you know, when you break and you fall apart and you look down and you see all of this puzzle on the floor, and you start to put yourself back together and you notice holes in the puzzle, don't go looking for those pieces, because those pieces no longer define you. And those holes that are in you now, that's room for growth and healing.
Yes,
And
love it.
yeah, I'm kind of a visual person. So, you know, I have to have things I can see or feel. And you know, excuse me, that's the other thing, is everybody learns in different ways. So I can tell you it's okay to, not have that feeling anymore. Don't worry about it. But, when you see it as the puzzle, um, another example I can share from my life and from my book is when my mother died, she died very unexpectedly. And it my dad had like 5 pages full of things wrong with him, and we all knew he was going to die first. Um, but it didn't happen that way. Knowing he could never live alone, I left a 4-year relationship that I found out really wasn't going anywhere anyway. So again, happened for me, not to me. I moved back home and I took care of my dad, and I helped him transition from this life to the next, to be with my mother again. And the lessons that I learned from him along the way were just so great. But it wasn't, now my dad's been dead for 2 years. It wasn't until a month ago, 2 months ago, I realized I never grieved my mother's death, because I went from one role to another, and I had to be strong for my father because it bothered him very badly if I was in a weakened state, and he knew I was there for him. So I broke down. I broke down and cried. I was on the floor, couldn't move. And because I allowed those emotions to build up, it wasn't that I allowed them, I didn't realize that I hadn't processed them. So they built up.
Yep, that's what I mean by pushing them back into that emotional jar. And in your case, you didn't have the time to deal with that emotion because your father was, he had that long list of stuff that you had to help him through, or at
Exactly.
least help him gracefully move through at whatever
Right.
you could. But yeah,
Yeah. And, out of the 3 of us children, I was the one who was able to deal with his death the easiest. And I didn't really mourn after he died. I progressively mourned as he died. So there was no buildup there. It was at the end, I remember walking into the room. I was putting something away and I thought he was sleeping. And I walked into the room and the air smelled differently, and it was very light and very bright. And it was because he peacefully passed on the way he wanted to. And, when it happens that way, it is such a blessing. I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world, because I know I can't have him back. Just like we can't go back in the past and live our life again and have those tragedies and trials along the way not happen. Because if it wasn't for those lessons of yesterday, when we put our feet on the floor today, we would have nothing to stand on.
exactly.
Yeah. And,
That's beautiful.
today is 113. I wake up every morning and I say, that today is day WON. It is a day 1. And I've done that for 113 days.
Yeah, when you first started doing that, I didn't get what it was about, but by the 5th day, I'm like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I try to post something very positive about it, or if it's something that I'm struggling with, I'm out there. I'm putting it out there. You know, yeah, I'm not perfect. Today I am struggling with.
And that's okay, because getting it out there is part of the healing process as well. Because if you keep it inside, you're just shoving it back down in that emotional jar. And what's going to happen? You turn that, was it the Pop Goes the Weasel thing? You turn around, eventually, there it goes, and you're a freaking mess.
Yeah,
That would be fun.
like shaking a bottle of soda and twisting the top off and wondering why, you get spewed all over. But
Exactly.
yeah, it's kind of funny. You can look at life with humor, and I do like to do that. just because you have to laugh. You know,
It helps.
um,
It truly helps.
yeah, David Corbin has an awesome book. It's called Illuminate the Negative.
Ooh,
And if you don't bring those, negative things into the light and process them, then they start to define you.
right?
Yeah. So, I happen to have been blessed by, I can say nothing more than falling into a group of very positive people that didn't necessarily have to help me with my emotions and my past, but they've opened doors for me to meet people that have. And I'm one of those people, I don't take the elevator. I don't take the stairs. I walk up the down escalator, and then get to the top and realize, oh, this is the section in the library that can help me. But I had to figure it out on my own. I had to
Yeah.
figure it out on my own.
Right. So I don't know if you know Mary-Frances, but on our calls, I usually pull a card from the Rebel deck. Do you know the Rebel deck?
I do not.
Okay, so the Rebel deck is described as the oracle with attitude. And sometimes these messages can be pretty rude and crude, but they bring a little giggle as well. And today, while you were speaking, I did pull a card and two came out. And the first one the card that was on top, one side reads, get over yourself, pull your shit together, help people, give back, do good shit for humanity. The other card, some good shit is about to happen. Don't let your issues fuck it up. The Rebel deck
How perfect.
right? It always comes through with a wonderful message that just makes you think like, yeah, things could be worse. I am in a decent place right now, or things were a hell of a lot more difficult, way back there at the end of the line. I'm happy where I am right here, right now, and I'm proud of where I am because I've fought like hell to get to where I'm going.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes you don't realize that you're fighting. Another thing that I've learned here just recently, existing is insanity. Think about that for just a second. Yeah, you guys got it right away. You can choose to live life or you can choose to exist. Get up, use the bathroom, take a shower, grab your coffee, go to your car, drive the same route to work, go through that mundane job, come home, cook dinner, do dishes, do your chores, go to bed, wake up the next morning and sit there and say, why is nothing changing? Because you're not changing.
Rinse and repeat. That's what a lot of us keep doing.
I love that because I say that too, lather, rinse, repeat. We're a lot alike. So yeah, a saying that I have is, you can sit and still, or you can get up and rise and shine. It's up to you. It's your choice.
Yep. I love that.
Yeah. So, I did. I sat and I stewed. And, you sit there and you go, God, it smells like shit around here. God, it smells like shit around here. Well, you either have to get up and move, or you need to clean the shit up. Yeah, it's up to you, ideally, in the end. And some people go, well, that's so easy for you to say because you are where you are. But please remember that I had to come from someplace.
That's when you turn back to them and say, would you like to borrow the waiters I used to get through all of that shit?
I didn't use waiters. I've lost shoes along the way. And, sometimes I've gone back and tried to plow through that shit to find those shoes. Other times I've just walked on. But yeah, it is, and again, offer that hand out, not hand out, excuse me, the hand up. Sometimes just saying to somebody when you notice they're walking behind or falling behind, can I walk with you? And that means more than here's $50.
The feeling of not being alone is it's amazing. It does wonders, because when we get stuck in that negative, low vibrating mindset, we truly feel like we're alone, like no one understands, like no one can help, like
Right.
it's a horrible place to be. So I'm so grateful that we got together today to discuss some of these topics, and please do share how we can find you, and also share on the book you're writing, because it sounds like it's going to be an amazing read.
Well, the name of the book is Emotionally Scammed. It's how we mix some of our emotions and make decisions that are the best decisions, again, that we could make at the time with the knowledge we had, but how they necessarily weren't the best decisions and just allowed more of the negative to to come towards us. So yes, I'm very excited about that coming out. It's my first solo write. I sat in the driveway reading the first chapter, well, the second chapter actually. And I was like reading it, and after the editor went through, and I was like, holy shit, this person's been through a hell of a lot. Tears are rolling down my eyes for this person. And then I realized, shit, that's me.
Yeah.
And tears just came even more. And, the fact that I can tell this now without crying doesn't mean that I've healed any more with it. It just means that I'm more at peace with it, and more at peace knowing that somebody else that was there, that is there, can read these words and say, there's hope. There really is that light at the end of the tunnel.
And just remember, tears water the garden of the soul. Shed them and grow.
Right. And also they cleanse. So
I see, Mary-Frances, man, you're going to change so many lives with that. I'm so
thank you.
excited, and I'm so grateful that you came on the show today with us, because to share that story, to be able to share that vulnerability like you have with us and with our audience, and that in itself is going to impact and have a ripple effect, a positive wave, as I like to call it. So
Mhm.
that's exactly what the show is all about, essentially, is just getting people like you in front of an audience, just to be able to share this kind of vulnerability to help others grow through the process that we all have to go through in life. Our experiences, our negative experiences specifically, if we can take those lessons and tool them like you are with your book, with your coaching, with everything that you're currently doing, wow, I'm excited to see where you go, because I see those wings growing right now as we're on the show.
Yeah. And when you're at the cliff, you can turn around and walk back into the flames, or you can have that faith that when you jump, your wings are going to expand, and then the joy of flying.
I
And it
totally
is,
got the visual of the squirrel suit, where these people are just jumping off the cliff. So they're
I
just
so want to do that.
soaring.
Going to do that so bad.
so use your I am words and make it happen. Yeah. Yeah. And again, sometimes it's very hard to say I am and be positive. You I don't know if you all write your affirmations 30 times every day to help you. I realized that when in my business scope I was writing down, I am so happy and grateful now that I have 9 new clients. And then you realize, again, that penny, what I failed to say is that they were paying clients. I had people coming to me to want to work with me and didn't invest a dime in me. And it's like, I can't fault what I received because of what I asked for. However, they were people that never could have afforded to go through the process. When one guy was hypnosis to quit smoking because of his health, and then it ended up to go into coaching. So technically, that was 2 in 1 client, not a penny. But sometimes you don't look at it from, as being a coach as to the monetary compensation. It's, I help that one person. That one person can tell 100 people. Out of those 100 people, 5 may come my way. So again, if you ask for $100 and somebody comes to you with a truck full of aluminum cans and says, you can have these, they're worth $100, don't fault what the universe gave you, because you didn't say, I want a $100 bill in my hand.
I actually had a recent situation that was just that. I needed gas money, and I'm like, universe, please, I've got to get to robotics. My son is doing amazing things here. Help. And what did I get? I got a bucket full of copper to go turn in. Wasn't my idea of it, but hey, it still was the blessing I needed to achieve what I was trying to achieve in life. So yeah, definitely want to be descriptive with your words. Don't half-ass it. Definitely
Right,
put full thought into what you want to manifest, because you don't want to
And feeling.
manifest that pile of shit.
right, right. And imagine though the people that would look at that bucket of copper and say, the hell am I supposed to do with that? No, I want money in my hand. First of all, again, yes, you didn't ask the universe exactly for what you wanted. You got money for gas, you had to work for it. But are you now more appreciative, having to put some work in?
I don't mind putting a little work in. That's part of why I'm disabled this day, is because I work too hard for what I have. And am I upset? No, because it actually ended up being a windfall, not a downfall. I mean, granted, I have some pains, but where I could have been is a whole heck of a lot worse than where I am now. And I am grateful for life's events. And it took a while to comprehend that. So, like I tell everyone, be kind to yourself.
Oh, that was one of the words some of the words that Dad, towards the end of his life, was telling young men. We would go to the feed store, and that we need you to put the feed in the truck. I could do it, but my dad had started to instill in me that ask for help, use your superpowers, when you can, and instead of working harder, work smarter. So, I've got a yard tractor. Why am I hauling 100-pound bags of feed when I can take it very easily from the truck to the tractor to where it needs to go with very little physical effort on my own?
Right.
So, yeah, we respect our feelings, we respect our friends, we respect our possessions. We fail to respect our body. And it's going to be with us. It was with us from day one, before day one, and it's going to be with us until ground zero and the cycle, ends or begins again. So yeah, you need to be gentle on yourself, emotionally, physically, and everything, mentally.
Love
And
yourself first.
yeah, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. Not at all.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Mary-Frances. It's been an honor chatting with you today. And what do you think, Matthew? Any further thoughts or questions?
How can people get a hold of you, Mary-Frances, so I can send them your way, and then I'll also get a link from you to add to our chat or
Yeah.
into the description.
So basically right now it's just, you can, PM me on Facebook at, Mary-Frances Buckland. From there I can share my phone number. My website from GoDaddy got absconded because I didn't renew it quick enough. They can always reach me if they don't want to go, if they cannot go through Facebook. m.buckland, BUCKLAND 66 at yahoo.com. And we can get in touch through there.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on today, Mary-Frances. This was an awesome conversation. I appreciate your willingness to share your vulnerability and to share how you're sending out positive waves to the world.
Thank you. Thank you. And you all are as well. Again, if it wasn't for that I am statement, we wouldn't be where we are today, but obviously the universe knew this needed to happen. So yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. And with that, everyone, have a wonderful day. We're sending positive waves your way for a wonderful 2023.